Speed kills, we've heard that warning multiple times, but a horrific testimony of the same was seen on the Delhi-Mumbai highway recently, where a speeding Rolls-Royce crashed into an oil tanker on the Delhi-Mumbai highway, killing two, the driver and the cleaner of the truck. The uber-luxurious limousine which smashed into a diesel tanker was reportedly being driven at a speed of over 200 kilometers an hour. In fact, visuals from the side showed that there was little left of the car, with the front of the car reduced to a pile of mangled metal, while the engine was reportedly set on fire. The rest of the car looked like a mangled debris. You can see that in the pictures there, that smoke billowing out shortly after this particular incident. And Times Now has also accessed the shocking CCTV visuals of the moment of the horrific crash. This shows a luxury car ramming into this particular oil tanker. The video accessed by us shows this car also going up in flames after hitting the oil tanker. A massive cloud of smoke billowing up in the air immediately, and you can imagine the kind of impact it would have had at a 200-kilometer plus speed. In fact, some have speculated it was as high as 230 kilometers an hour. We're waiting for an official version, but the police has said and has confirmed that the vehicle was definitely overspeeding. Now, with the names of the occupants of the Rolls-Royce reportedly missing from the FIR, there were many unanswered questions remaining. To begin with, if an attempt was being made to shield the drivers of the Rolls-Royce, but also and more importantly, if the car was running over 200 kilometers an hour as claimed, then why wasn't it intercepted? Here's what the Haryana police said when Times Now reached out to them for a comment.
ये रॉयल्स रॉयल वाले केस में पूछना था कि क्या अपडेट है, एक इसमें क्या मतलब क्या इन्वेस्टिगेशन चल रही है।
जो गाड़ी है पूरी बर्न्ट है, उसको सीज कर दिया गया है। जो मिल रहे हैं ड्राइवर जो सीसीटीवी फुटेज सीज कर ली गई हैं, आगे का इन्वेस्टिगेशन जारी कर लेंगे। जैसे ही जो गाड़ी में थे वो हॉस्पिटल में हैं तो उनको बुला के इन्वेस्टिगेशन चालू कर देंगे। प्राइमा फेसी तो ओवर स्पीडिंग रोल्स रॉयस उसी वजह से टक्कर से ये मरे हैं।
ओके, हाँ, तो आर वी टेकिंग एक्शन अगेंस्ट द ड्राइवर एंड अदर पीपल?
ये एफआईआर हो गया, इन्वेस्टिगेशन चालू हो गया, अरेस्ट किया जाएगा बाकी लोगों को।
Let's now go across to Shiv Sharan, father of Govind, who was on board that truck when this horrific incident has taken place. And in fact, Govind has been completely numbed by this particular incident. He finds it difficult to even speak long, and that's why we do not want to increase his trauma. And thereby we are speaking to Shiv Sharan, the father of Govind. Shiv Sharan जी, सबसे पहले हमें बताइए उस दिन क्या हुआ था?
मैं तो मजदूरी में था जी। पहले उस दिन तो फोन आया था कि बहुत सीरियस है।
किसका फोन आया था आपके पास?
हाँ, ये मालूम नहीं, नंबर जानते नहीं हम किसी। फिर हम लल्लड़ चले गए, 3-4 भाई हैं हम, सारे चले गए लल्लड़। तो वहाँ देखा 2 बंदे ख़त्म भी हो गए थे। ये बच्चा हमारा बच गया था
जी,
बच गया है बच्चा हमारा थोड़ा जी। अब इसके ट्रीटमेंट के लिए ट्रीटमेंट नहीं हो रहा है जी। कोई आ ही नहीं रहा है, ना पूछ रहा है, ना कोई कुछ जवाब दे रहे हैं।
और आपके बेटे पर इतने बड़े एक्सीडेंट का क्या असर हुआ है, हमें बताइए।
वो पहले वो बोलता था कि जब से ये एक्सीडेंट हुआ है, जब से सदमा से सेवे में रहता है। रात को भी हम इससे बात करते हैं इसको खोलने के लिए, जैसे खुल जाए बोलने के लिए, जैसे पहले बोलता था वैसे ही बोलने लग जाए, पर ये धीरे धीरे जवाब देता है।
और एक्सीडेंट के बारे में क्या बताया आपको गोविंद ने?
ये तो यही कहता है जी, गाड़ी हमने इधर भी देखा, कोई गाड़ी नहीं आ रही थी, ये तो दिखी नहीं, ये पीछे ठोक दिया।
जिन्होंने आपके बेटे के जो ट्रक को मारा है या उनके साथियों ने आपके बेटे और उनके साथियों को हॉस्पिटल पहुंचाया या वहां से भाग गए? वो
कोई नहीं लेके, ये बता रहे कोई एम्बुलेंस लेके बताई, इनको पढ़ाई छोड़ गए थे वहाँ। बाद में पढ़ाई छोड़ गए वहाँ, भाग गया जी,
भाग गए। और किसी ने बताया आपको कि इन्वेस्टिगेशन पुलिस की ओर से अब कहां तक पहुंची है, इसमें क्या हुआ है, कोई जानकारी है आपके पास?
हमको नहीं बताया किसी ने भी। हम तो बिगड़ पड़े मजदूर आदमी, हमको क्या बताएंगे? वो मजदूर आदमी तो एक कीड़ा मकोड़ा है।
अब आपकी सरकार से क्या मांग रहेगी?
हम तो यही कहते हैं कि हमारे बच्चे को इलाज करवा दे, जो आपको सरकार को सहूलत लगे वो कर दे हमारे साथ।
Very, very shocking answer. शिवचरण जी, हमारे साथ बात करने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. And that's the plight of the victim. 2 other individuals who were with that boy Govind are now dead. Their family members are also seeking justice from the perpetrators of this terrible, terrible accident that has taken place. And in fact, not accident, but many would call it a rash and negligent act that deserves punishment. And for more of this, let's go across to our other panelists with us. We have with us Raman Malik, leader of the BJP in Haryana. With us also is Vikram Singh, former IPS officer. Zulfikar Memon is a lawyer joining us on the broadcast. With us also is Rahul Prakash Singh, regional manager of the Save Life Foundation. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. Raman Malik, a couple of questions. While, of course, we've seen an extremely disturbing video, and this is really, of course, a lesson for anybody who drives or overspeeds, because clearly the kind of disastrous consequences of there are for all to see. But the question that is on many people's minds is that why has it taken so many days for the police to realize that it was not the fault of the truck driver, but more of the vehicle that was overspeeding? Because initially we were given to understand that the police had booked the truck driver, but now they have booked the driver of that luxury vehicle.
See, the point is, Madhav, I, being individually affected by rash driving and juvenile driving, 3 years back, a very close friend, a very close brother had expired in Gurugram in the accident of the famous, that Harley-Davidson accident on the Cyber Park Road in DLF Phase 3, where juveniles were driving and the car flew from one end of the road onto the other carriageway and hit him on his bike, and this man with a 14-year and a 13-year and a 16-year-old son was killed on the spot. My real brother was driving right next to him, and they had put on all gears that are required, all protective gears. My point here is, sir, that this is a very good express highway, and on this express highway, people intend to break the law without understanding the consequences. The consequences of rash driving, the consequences of driving on the wrong side, the consequences of not focusing while you are driving. This is a good highway with a speed of about 120 kilometers permitted. But then one must not forget that that is the maximum threshold and you do not need to cross it. Now what has happened is that probably the things would have to be judged by the various, let's say the various photographs, the various CCTV footages that are there with the police. Mm-hmm. But one has to understand the kind of impact. The kind of impact which is there, where the truck drivers could have
Mr. Malik,
died
just to I mean, of course, you've been through a tragic incident. I'm not going to get into that. But in this particular case, there are questions about whether the police's investigation so far has been satisfactory, because this is an incident that has happened several days ago. And let me bring in Zulfikar Memon on that, because he's a lawyer. He can tell us. Zulfikar Memon, judging by the reports, judging by what has happened so far, is the kind of investigation that has taken place satisfactory as per you, Mr. Memon?
Favor anybody.
One second, Mr. Malik, one second. I'm coming to you. Let me bring in now Zulfikar Memon on this. Yes.
Yeah, I'm saying that, I'm really concerned, deeply concerned for what has happened. And, loss of lives of innocent people there just because of the rash driving of some people who are enjoying the vehicle and enjoying the luxury of their vehicle. The investigation, I'm not very satisfied with the investigation, because now the delayed time, the FIR has been registered, and FIR is registered for very simple bailable offences. So clearly much could have been done by the investigating agencies. Section 304 has been slapped. 304 Part 2 should have been slapped, which is non-bailable. This is very clearly a case which is not like a just any other rash or negligent driving. This is an act done by responsible people driving an expensive, super fast vehicle on the road, knowing fully well that their actions could have caused a fatal consequences. So the investigation agency should have been mindful of this fact very clearly. Any driving which is done at a speed of 230 kilometers per hour, which is ridiculous. And how is that permissible. And how is that? How can you just even allow for somebody like that to have that car, drive that, and not only by themselves, but an entire convoy of that vehicle, which means there were multiple luxury vehicles which were being driven at that speed. So that needs to be probed. The other drivers need to be probed as well. Not only that car, but even the others who are a part and parcel of the entire convoy, which are equally responsible.
Right, absolutely. And Raman, would you like to respond to that? Because, the problem is this. This is a vehicle that is probably cost 8-10 crore rupees, judging by what I've seen at least online. And it's not even a luxury vehicle, it's a super luxury vehicle. So the sense that goes out in the common man is that here are powerful people who probably are trying to get away or will get away if action is not taken on these individuals.
No, nobody will get away, Madhav. Nobody will get away, and believe me, right after this program, I'll speak myself to SP Nu, and I will request him that the entire convoy must be investigated, what were the average speeds between one toll plaza and the other crossed by this convoy, which all vehicle cross, and their average speed should be looked into, and all of them should be brought to books. I will personally
request, because 40 kilometers in 12 minutes.
An FIR has been registered, but why simple offences of 304, which are all bailable offences, have been slapped against them? That is the big question.
You see, Mr. Menon, I have gone through this 304 A and B section, or 1 or 2 that you are talking about.
Yes.
So the point is that there are various apprehensions and things like that the police generally in their practice involve, and it is a difficult task to get the part 2 done in it. But yes, I have of the opinion that not just that the investigation should involve the entire convoy and the security personnel that were there with them, who were they, what were they, but also this, that through this program, Madhav, it is my humble request, if the Honorable CJI of India is watching this program at any point, or somebody who knows this Honorable CJI, who has a flair of taking things suo moto at a lot of time and giving observation, he should come up with a suo moto case here where it says that driving on a wrong side or breaking the laws of driving is a basic willful act, crime for killing somebody.
Well, there are strong laws as it is.
Never understand
it's just a question of the police applying them.
Front.
Certainly strong words need to be issued of condemnation, but I'm not going to suggest who needs to do that. In this case, if the police takes exemplary action, wouldn't that be enough? Vikram Singh is a former DGP. Vikram Singh, are you satisfied with the kind of investigation?
No.
You're a former DGP. Let him come in, sir. Let him come in. Zulfikar Memon pointed out certain lacunae which he feels stronger sections should have been applied, because this is such a shocking case. What's more shocking, sir, is the fact that one of the survivors who we spoke to the father of the survivor, he's saying he's so scarred emotionally, leave alone the physical scars and the pain, he's barely able to speak. That's the kind of impact that such an accident has. 2 people have died.
Gautamji, you're absolutely right. The survivor, Gautam, is in a state of extreme shock, and there will be consequences. I really would like to mention that what Mr. Zulfikar has said, words of profound wisdom. There are flaws in the police investigation as of now. Section 201, destruction of evidence, has to be incorporated. Culpable homicide amounting to murder should have been incorporated, rather than Mr. Zulfikar had mentioned in his lucid interpretation of the procedure that when you know that your consequences can lead to somebody's death, it is culpable homicide amounting to murder, which is non-bailable life imprisonment and fine or both. That should have been the punishment. That should have, now, not to incorporate the names of those in the Rolls Royce is also something that is very, very suspicious. Not to incorporate, they have been admitted in the hospital. Obviously, they were not admitted without the names and the addresses. And now, after a lapse of so many months, so many hours, it is well within that their names should have been there. Now, this FIR is like all the ingredients are there, but the flavor is missing. It is, कहते हैं, Gumnaam FIR, unnamed FIR. And a named FIR is something that would have been very, very appropriate in this horrific case. And I'm sure Mr. Raman, with all his concern and his concern for the deceased, well, yes, I think those who died were not sons of a lesser god. And there has to be action on the part of the police, and the credibility is at stake. Those on the roadside do not have any entitlement. Driving on the wrong side, 200 kmph. There are important lessons to be drawn from this tragedy. But the first is get their names in the investigation, incorporate 201 and culpable homicide amounting to murder.
Raman, you know, Mr. Vikram Singh, you know, he's an upright officer. He's, of course, someone who's very clearly saying there are lapses. And, you know, with the police, when a senior police officer like him comes out and says that the names are not there in the FIR, that's bound to raise some serious questions on the quality.
Madhav, there's one more very important point here to add to what Mr. Singh said.
Okay, quickly, please come in before I go across to Raman. Yeah.
Not only from a legal perspective, but from a moral and from a societal perspective also, there is something that needs to be observed, and it is very, very disturbing here. What has happened at the end of the day? Tanker drivers who are poor people who have died on the streets because of a large convoy of luxury vehicles have met with an accident with them because of their irresponsibility and recklessness. Now, let me tell you, none of them from the convoys, their security or the other friends who were in the other vehicle maybe, nobody bothered to address the issues of the victims or the deceased who were there and who were lying and under fire when the oil tanker was burned.
No. In fact, the oil tanker did not burn. The Rolls-Royce burned, but the oil tanker tumbled. And in fact, we have an eyewitness. I just want to add to your point, Zulfikar, because I want to take this across. Raman Malik, you know, what is very serious and why this is very shocking from a moral perspective and why these people need to be acted upon is that they rescued the people from the burning Rolls-Royce, but they left the truck driver and the attendants to die.
Exactly.
And we have an eyewitness today who says that he was in the ambulance which came several minutes later. After the police arrives 10 minutes later, the ambulance comes a bit later. And in that ambulance, he saw his friends dying before his eyes. What's more tragic than that? Perhaps those two precious lives could have been saved today.
Exactly. With the convoy, with all their security, nobody even addressed or bothered to even go and check whether they were alive or not.
Yeah, Raman.
I fully accept what they are saying. Both of them are learned officers of law, and they have understood law very well. Mr. Singh being one who has executed the law, Mr. Menon being one who is an officer of the court. I fully appreciate what the points have been made. I would only humbly request, Vikram Singh ji knows me personally, Menon Saab may not, but I would request these two gentlemen to please incorporate all the points that they have in mind so that I can forward the same to the SP concerned of NU so that this may go in written that these angles also must be incorporated in the investigation, in the FIR, and this is what the shortcomings are. At least we as the civil society, we as people who have concern for lives in general of any Indian citizen, or for that matter anybody, should raise their voice, and especially ones who understand this fact that roads are there to commute, not to experiment and have your juvenile thrills. These are juvenile thrills which should not be permitted with machines that are machines. They do not have a mind. They can kill somebody because of wrong operations.
Well,
and
certainly.
A person who is operating it in a wrong manner and not considerate about anybody else's life,
well, this irresponsibility has to go. This irresponsibility has to be punished. And I can only say this, Raman Malik, that there are trained IPS officers who would perhaps be looking into this case. All of them, from the bottom to the top rung, the top brass, all of them would know what kind of section should be incorporated in such a case. If they don't do that, then the message is going to be very clear that there is some kind of pressure building on them. But I want to bring in fact, before we end this debate, Rahul Prakash Singh, who's a regional manager of the Save Life Foundation. Rahul, what's very, I mean, we've discussed a number of lacunae, a number of issues, but what's also very shocking is that I thought red beacons were banned in this country. And there are news reports that the following convoy, actually a number of the vehicles had red beacons on them. How in the world is that even possible?
Yeah, hi. So yes, red beacons are definitely banned, and illegal use of them is also banned. So this is also an oversight on the side of authorities, where such vehicles were allowed to ply on the road. So in Save Life Foundation, when we see such a crash from a systems perspective, so it's not just the issue of engineering or enforcement; it's things in totality that are coming at play. So when the road is being designed, any expressway, they are to accommodate a speed of say 100 kilometers to 120 kilometers per hour. But this vehicle driving at a speed of 200 kilometers per hour goes unchecked, and it passes through toll plaza also, where again it is not stopped, or there are lack of speed calming measures which bring down the speed. So that is the issue that needs to be addressed on such high speeds corridors, And at the same time, such high-speed corridors or the access control expressway, they should, mandatorily have something what is called the ITMS, Intelligence Traffic Management System. So it has the capability to detect, such violations, not just overspeeding, the wrong side driving also, which can be detected and effectively patrols, say police or maybe the road owning agencies patrol can be deployed. We saw similar case in the case of Delhi-Meerut Expressway, where a wrong side driving bus collided into a motor vehicle and killing 6 people. So if there was ITMS system and it alerts the authorities in time, so such violations can be addressed and such fatalities can be averted.
Well, absolutely. And we'll have to leave it there because clearly, of course, this has many messages. The many messages are this, that A, those who break traffic safety rules are not only endangering their own lives, they're endangering the lives of others. If we have such world-class infrastructure, then we have to have that world-class civic sense as well while using that infrastructure. Those engaging in irresponsible acts are, of course, going to be punished by law. In this case, of course, there are serious questions. We certainly hope that the police takes corrective measures and now swings into action. The big fish don't get away. The small fry, unfortunately, some of them have lost their lives. Some of them have been scarred physically, perhaps even psychologically. But the point that we're making over here is this. This is an issue for all Indians to be concerned about. We all use the roads, we all use the highways, and do we not want our roads and highways to be safe? Do we want such ghastly accidents happening before us? We certainly hope not, and certainly hope that all citizens and all responsible individuals watching this will take whatever steps are needed, whether those in power, whether those out of power, to ensure that such happenings do not occur again. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on this debate.
Thank you.